Okay, I think I'm good. T, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Ian?
What's going
Can you
on,
hear
man?
me okay?
Yeah, no, man, you sound good. You sound good.
How are you doing, bro?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Just enjoying. I'm gonna be honest, man. There's been so much just KvK matchup stuff that we've been talking about for the past couple days. It's been so fun for me just to kind of hear about how everyone's KvK has been going, checking in with everyone, just kind of giving the people something to enjoy and to be interested in, until the season starts.
Yes, sir. I've seen you've been busy in the recent days.
Oh yes, trying to. Okay, so I want to know again. First off, right? So a quick recap, right? For those wondering, right? This is Mr. T, right? Lead a hunt in 572, right? You and MFD got put into KvK1. You guys are sharing a zone. It's basically a 4v3 Diplo, at least from what we've heard on the agreement. But I'm curious, where were you guys expecting to be? Like, where did you think you were going to be KvK wise? Like KvK4, KvK5, a little bit lower? Like, what was the expectation coming in on how HuNT viewed itself being placed this KvK?
Yeah, so that's actually a very interesting. So to give some background, we are around 22 billion power. We got 140 members. We got some players on voucher that are showing up in the sets. So we are like 21.5. And going into this season, we were aiming for something like KvK 3, worst case KvK 2. So basically matchups around our level, alliances 2021, worst case 27 billion power. So yeah, we were really surprised when we saw the matchup. And now imagine how MFD must have felt like being put into KvK1 at 15 billion power. It's actually criminal. Yeah, but I think so. The main issue with the matchmaking is that we are up against camps that are like 30 to 40 billion power. I think even combined, we only come up to something like 30, 35, and there are camps in the season with more than that. So it's pretty ridiculous. And
Yeah,
what can
man.
I say? Yeah, very irritating for us to see that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine, especially because I mean, just looking at the numbers, I mean, I think you're right. KvK 2 or 3 most likely is probably where you guys would have been. Even if you got KvK 4, you probably would have been a little bit on the higher end, at least for the teams that we see got put there. So it seems like a KvK 2, a KvK 3 probably would have been more within the realm. But so you guys, you see the matchups, you get placed in KvK 1. Again, I'm planning to talk with, because I reached out to Gray Balls already in Abda, and I know Gray Balls is planning to come on with us tomorrow or Wednesday, just depending when I stream next, to kind of share his thoughts and his perspective on MFD getting paired in KvK1. But the groups are
nice.
released. You see that you guys are in KvK1. Obviously, it's not as extreme as MFD just being a little bit lower power, but how do you view it? How do some of your officers, have your players shared any dissatisfaction or feedback? What has been some of the feedback amongst your kingdom, amongst your team, about getting put into KvK1? What have some other people been saying there as well?
So I think the main thought of the dev is to bypass these gaps that like come up in KvK1 when there are alliances that are gapping too much in power. So they decide to put us into this place to make up for this gap, but they don't keep in mind that the individual account strength is just too big. So we can't compete with these teams that are stacked with um, very strong accounts. They mostly average like 170, 180 million player per camp, and is nothing that you can easily balance out by just putting more numbers into the camp. So decorations make a big impact, and we have by far the lowest this season. Uh, MFD doesn't have a single max decoration garrison, so that's going to be interesting. They tell us that account strength and decoration level matters, but often it's being proven otherwise. Yeah, and what makes it really frustrating for us that we manage our server, our alliance to avoid such situations. So in off season, like we clean our inactive players. We are very, very picky. We discharge a bunch of players this off season. So we invest money into this to keep our power lower. So we stay in mid-tier KvKs, fighting alliances on our power level. This our aim. This is the aim of my alliance. This is what my players enjoy, and they are here in my alliance in HuNT to fight in balanced fights and not go up against hard competitive alliances. But well, it is what it is. We are for sure the weakest camp this season. That that means no balanced fights for us. We probably couldn't win a single 1v1 against a different camp this season. So I really, really wonder why the devs have just decided, they woke up and decided, okay, HuNT, MFD, you guys, you are going to KvK 1.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I think I'm effortlessly there with you when, we again, I looked at it and I think even my prediction for you guys, let me see real quick. Where did I have you guys as my prediction? I had HuNT. Yeah, I had you guys KvK 2. That's where I had you. And the reason, however, see, this is how I did it. And you let me know if you agree with this. This is how I did it. So the way I looked at it was, if you can't make the group, if you can't truly balance the group by having, 6 kingdoms all relatively around the same power, then the way you do it is you do divisibles of 2, depending on how many you can match, and then you fill that in with 2 lower ones, right? So not saying that you would go down to like a B per se, but you would find like 2 middle A's, so that way the assumption is one of those would be put on each team, right, to fill the gap a little bit more evenly. That's something I don't think would have been the worst idea. I think it would have been better than them essentially saying, we're going to put your team and then MFD, which clearly there is, very clear disparities between your kingdom's capabilities, their capabilities, but also the power and just some of the most obvious, face value stats that we're seeing here. It almost feels like this would have been better for them to consider putting someone else also around like that 21.5, 22 billion. Like, do you think that maybe could have worked a little bit better, even despite you guys getting put into KvK1 as far as someone to kind of replace MFD in that regard?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of solutions that would have been a lot better than the solution they have went with, which seems quite experimental for me. I think another suggestion that I've read was, for example, putting MFD with one of a strong alliance and then equal up to like a 40 billion camp. I think that would have been more fair, or vice versa, giving us a stronger alliance than MFD, the way you said it now. But either way, I think the big difference for us, for alliances 15, 20 billion, is like the competitive level that we play on. And the devs can't just make the assumption for us and decide for us that we have to go up against hard competitive alliances. I think they should reconsider doing that and throw in alliances that have this kind of power, even if there's a gap. Like, we are also the weakest. So when the gap is there, either way, putting us in or putting someone that is like 29 billion, like WAO or someone else. I don't want to put anyone in the spotlight and say they should have been in. But I think there were alternatives that for sure would have been also, they would also be the weakest, but consider we are also the weakest. But the difference is that they have the account strength to go up against these type of alliances, even if there's always going to be a difference. So yeah, my question is, how they decide that we will be the ones then that have to play in this kind of KvK.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. And my thing is, why wouldn't it have been? Because again, even in my prediction for KvK one, Guns did one too, and we pretty much had near identical ones with kind of one position placement. I mean, I had essentially. Oh gosh, hang on. Who was it? Milk, right? I had Milk in there in replacement of those two. And I think he had WAO in replacement of who I had put in for Milk, of which I think did. Excuse me, let me double check real quick, right? And so, oh, sorry, yeah, and they didn't get in, right? So it ended up being WB, NXW, NTSYS, IMFS. But again, that's who I thought. I thought, okay, well, clearly this makes sense. You would just put Milk in here. Maybe you could argue WAO getting put in there, but no, that doesn't happen, right? They get put down basically to KvK2, and and I understand if maybe their view is, okay, well, we want to try and make that KvK a bit more balanced, but you could apply the same logic of you put one of them in a KvK1, and then you just put two other maybe mid A's in KvK2, one each. Again, that would also just be one way to do it, aside from I know what you said. But yeah, I think, to me, this would have made more sense if MFD I felt was a little bit closer to maybe to you guys, because it's just the thing is it's not just about some of the other stats. It is also about total amount of troops trained, because it's also going to factor in initially to how much troops and resources do you have available to sustain a longer fight out in the field. Because people aren't going. You're not going to have a kingdom that's going to train together 5 billion worth of troops. Like I just don't know if I've ever seen that happen. Now, some of the top kingdoms might train a lot, but I don't think you're going to see anyone train a third of their power or a quarter of their power, or God forbidding half of their power, right, on the troop training day for Brink of War. So you also have to factor in what do you have available. But again, maybe because so here's the thing. So I'm showing this on stream right now. This is the chart that they provided during the NYC meeting.
Yes, seen that.
Yeah.
Seen that, yes.
Yeah, right. Where they said number one factor is progression score of active players. So, maxed heroes, artifacts, decorations, total units trained and available. And then number two is number of active players. Number three, battle data from active players, right? So again, those are things we show off. Activity we show off, but it also depends on what kind of sub factors they use there. But still, that's 2 and 3. Resource reserves. Obviously, that's not something that we can see on our end. That's only something they have access to, which is current storehouse caps that players have. And then 5 is realms, victories, and defeats over the last 3 seasons, but they say that's relatively low. Right? I mean, based on what we've seen, it's just, yeah, again, I agree. There's, like I said, some of the things we can't see, but it's just, yeah, to me, I just feel like it would have made more sense if they did something like that. Or, why not just put Milk in there? Or, why not put Milk or WAO in there? Like, why not just have it? Because the reason I say this is I don't recall, and I said this as well before, I don't recall why they didn't opt to do this in the past consecutive number of KvK seasons for KvK1. To my recollection, they've always had they've always had one kingdom per starting zone for the past multiple number of KvK seasons, but all of a sudden this season they opt to just throw you an MFT in there. So just, I'm a little lost on that one, I will say. But
well, they lost their path. Yeah.
okay.
It's interesting though. So.
Oh no, go ahead.
I think we can touch a bit base maybe on Diplo, how that ended playing out. So
please, yes, that was gonna be my next one. Yeah, let us know, how was it? So how was it going in? Did everyone get in on time? Did everyone show up eventually, or eventually? Did everyone contribute to the conversation?
so yes, initially I think Jason was reaching out to every king, setting up a Discord, chat Discord with everyone, where we had the conversation going. I think it took like 4 hours. There have been sometimes the conversation were a little bit slow because some parties were observing a bit, I think, and just taking the time to really think about it. But everyone took part in it and contributed, and I think we came to a pretty reasonable outcome. So the setup is left versus right. I think on paper it seems pretty fair. The main concern of Kings in this Diplo conversation has been that lines can be blocked on the way to final zone or on the way to the dragon in the final zone. So with this setup, we are avoiding this. Everyone gets a clean path in and can take part in the fight, which was also one of our concerns reasonably, that we're getting blocked, and we wanted to avoid that. Apart from that, we've been open for everything, and I think, yeah, we come to a reasonable outcome here. And well, some maybe say, okay, you're only going to farm until final zone, and that is maybe a bit boring, but well, we're going to fight with MFD, friendly fight until final zone, stack our elixirs. Wise is going to do the same. And I think for us, honestly, it's probably not even bad that we are not exposed to one of these top tier camps before final zone, because I think everyone in this Diplo conversation agreed that we can't win a single 1v1 in this season with our setup that the devs have cooked.
Okay, so hit me with this next then, T. So everyone gets in Diplo, a little bit slow, like you said, to start, but everyone's there. How did the diplomacy play? So how long in total did Diplo take to get to the resolution of, okay, this is what the matchup is going to be?
I think it took 3 hours,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. And then throughout the process, how was it for you? Like, did everything seem pretty, again, despite obviously you and MFD getting put in KvK 1, did it feel like, you know, the diplomacy happening, like they were factoring you guys in as well, like not trying to, you know, not I don't want to say like ostracize you guys or make you feel like, oh well, you're just there, so it's just going to.
One sec. Okay, I'm back.
Oh, crud! I think I just muted myself. No, I was saying. Sorry, thanks, Dave. No, I was saying, T. Did everyone a part of the KvK one Diplo feel like they were really trying to? I think include is probably the wrong word, but make sure that MFD and HuNT were like fairly factored in, where it wasn't like an afterthought, and they were really trying to kind of make, you know, the most fair, most balanced matchups that they could, you know, despite also kind of being put into that situation. Did it really feel like everyone was kind of working towards, you know, at least a good goal in KvK one, or no, or like there's some road bumps, did other things happen?
No, I think they've considered us in the conversations. They definitely did. Looking at the Diplo, we got 2 very great allies with WB and NXW. So I think they really try to measure this in and factor this in. And including myself, I really don't know what to expect from the season and how good we are able to keep up, or how it's going to play out in final zone. Going to be a hell of a battle either way. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay, okay. And then how about expectations as far as, you know, oh sorry, so the agreement. How are the zone threes going to get played out? But was anything discussed or touched on that as far as, you know, is everyone just fine with just playing it normal as far as like, you know, people can zone lock if they want or not? Or was there anything kind of put in as a stipulation to say like, well, look, we want to get everyone to the final zone? Like was there anything there?
Okay, so regarding the map setup, it's basically a free zone 3, and with pass 4 opening up, the invasion starts. And when there's one kingdom in between 2 others, 2 enemy ones, then you generally have the concern that with pass 4 opening up, the invasion starts and you get banked up from 2 sides. But we didn't go for such a setup. so it's left versus right. So there's never two kingdoms on the sides of another one, and there's no such situation where anyone can get cut off before final zone, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you guys, and then 249, 375. Yeah. So it's, oh yeah, gotcha. So you guys are essentially playing a West versus East approach here, where it's, yeah, 249, 77, 572, 375. I'm showing it here on screen, and then on the right half. Okay. So essentially, even if it happens, it would be in this case 249 versus NTS, and then it would be IMFS versus 375 in the zone 3 at that point. Or at least, well, I guess not the zone 3. They'd have to win the zone 2 first. So if the zone 2 stay at a stalemate, but essentially the I guess the easy answer for people to understand is that if one side beats the other side in zone 2, that side can invade someone's zone 3. There's no rules put in place that's saying you can't invade the zone 3, or if you do invade, you have to at least leave one pass open for them to get in the final zone. Meaning somebody could get locked out of final zone.
No agreements have been in place,
Okay.
but looking at the setup, I don't think that it's a possibility that can happen, that anyone gets locked out before. There have been proposals, Diplo setup proposals, that where this would have been a risk. And there was also one proposal out where we have been sandwiched between WB and NXW, and we were MFT and us. We were like, no, guys.
Oh yeah, right there. Oh god, man, that would have been rough.
Yeah, that would have mean our ultimate death, and yeah, but we quickly moved away from this proposal. And the other proposal, I think there was NTS sandwich between YSS and WB.
Okay.
And this was also, again, it was the same risk that the NTS could have been cut out before final zone, or even if they make it into the final zone, then you are still sandwiched between YSS and WB, and you're not going to do anything.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Now, was there any thought at all given to? I'm just going to widen this a little bit for you guys. Was there any thought given at all? Did anyone at any point propose and say, "Well, look, why don't we just come up with whatever the best matchup is, and then we don't worry about anyone getting zone locked. Let's just put a stipulation or a rule in place for everyone that says no one's going to zone lock anyone until, a couple days after the final zone opens, or if you naturally get pushed through your level 5 pass in the final zone, and then you get your zone 3 invaded normally or organically that way." Was there any kind of, was that ever presented as an idea? And I only ask that because I know some other KvKs are doing it that way, just to ensure that, one, they don't limit any potential matchups, which could also allow for them to have more balanced matchups, and then two, also obviously guaranteeing that everyone can at least make it into the final zone regardless of how long they last there. Was anything like that ever mentioned or brought up at any point?
Yeah, so it was a consideration when we've been discussing the proposals where one team was sandwiched between two strong teams. We always discussed the possibility of saying, okay, invading is not going to happen before final zone is taking place. But even then, even when you make it to final zone, there's always the risk that you're getting blocked out, because it's you're a vulnerable target, weak alliance, and you're sandwiched between two top teams. The first thing they're gonna do is lock you out and then focus on the other teams. So we've moved away, and that's why we are doing West versus East. And I think this is also it's fine for us. Of course, it's a bit tedious waiting until final zone, until it's gonna open up, but is what it is. It's a tricky situation that we're in, but we're going to make the best out of it. And yeah, we're gonna try to show up in Final Zone big time and make this an exciting fight.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, yeah, man. I mean, listen, if anything, listen, man, I appreciate the time, T, and you coming on and chatting with us. I mean, this has been great. I mean, like I said, I think, for me, I really like talking to people that are in the KVKs. They're in they're a part of the conversations. You're in the Diplo. Obviously, your guys' situation is that, probably, less favored and I think less ideal than not only you guys would have liked, but I'm sure at the same time, even some of the other kingdoms in there would have probably liked as well, just to again have a little bit more consistent and balanced matchups with people that are just similarly, I think, at each other's weight class. I think it's fair to say, and still trying to make the best of it. Which again, it feels like that's the only thing you guys really can do at this point. Which again is good on you guys for doing that. And I guess we'll see how things play out. But yeah, man, I definitely wishing you guys the best. And hopefully, you and MFD working together, to any degree, hopefully that at least gets you guys something, and hopefully more than maybe what even you guys might expect as well out of the KvK. But yeah, I I guess all I'll say is, yeah, man, like I said, I had you guys in KvK too, so there's that.
Bro, KvK 2 was our worst case scenario, guys.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. At least I think on my prediction board, I think I had you guys in KvK too. But I think when I was talking about it on stream, I said like I think you were two others, one or two others I was saying as well. Probably could have easily been also KvK 3. So I think somewhere around there, definitely would have been, potentially more appropriate. But like we said, right, we don't have all the data available to us like the devs do. So we're only able to kind of go off of as much as we do have available on our end. But all right. Well, I guess with that being said, T, any final words, man, from you hanging out with us for the Kingdom, for the KvK?
Yeah. So I just briefly want to comment on two more annoyances that are really messing with me and the situation. The first one is that our fucking Brink of War points are calculated separately. So that means we can't even aim for any type of spot. And the second one is that in this non-team up scenario, we are not getting this super warband at the season end. So we are not able to share the rewards.
Oh yeah.
And when you're not holding the dragon at end of season, it always counts as a loss. So maybe that's also something good for us, because some of my team were speculating that we are in this position because of our win streak, but it still seems kind of ridiculous because there are other teams as well that have been winning seasons and have been having good seasons. And yeah, but it's what it is. I think that's my last words. Hopefully it's going to be a nice Final Zone and we'll give everything we have. I'm not sure how far it's gonna take us, but we are about to find out. And yeah, I'm looking for a good fight. And thank you for having me. I just want to get out a few words because it is annoying me. But yeah, thank you, Ben.
Absolutely, man. No, I like I said, I appreciate you coming on, and I like I said, for me, I think the biggest thing is just also being a good platform and giving people a space to share their views, especially to a larger audience. And these are the kinds of, I believe, feedback and views that need to be shared, especially amongst wherever you end up, right? If it's in KvK 1, if it's KvK 6, I think being able to share this with the community, and again, who knows, right? Maybe there's some devs or team members out there listening, or clips are shared with them possibly. But I think it's important to understand your player base and understand your audience and the impacts that either current capabilities or that whether it's impacting it in a good way or in a bad way. And it's one of those things where you don't want it to be out of sight, out of mind, right? Like like people have to talk about these things, they have to bring it forward, bring it to the attention, so that way it is front of mind. So for that, man, I appreciate you making some time for me today and coming on and sharing. T, I appreciate that.
Easy nights. Have a good one.
You too, man. Take care.
Bye bye.